As part of this new channel that I'm starting, which is more closely related to business side of freestyle, I want to actually tell you a little bit more about my own story and my journey. I've been working for more than 20 years, and I figured, why don't I spend some time in just putting it all on videos, I want to use this as an opportunity for me to capture what I've done. This is going to be unscripted, right? So I will pull out my LinkedIn profile one by one, each job. I'm going to spend 3 to 5 minutes to talk a little bit more about what went on. And I want to chop this into little mini episodes, So for each one of my career jobs, I will spend 3 to 4 to 5 minutes talking about what I've done and what I did and how I got in. But before I jump into that, let's just go way back. Let me just tell you a little bit more about the recruitment process of my first job, which was at NCR Teradata as a graduate program back then. Around that time, I started applying for jobs, say maybe around September 1997. Now back in those days, it was literally reading newspapers and cutting out newspaper, filling out forms and mailing it to the companies, right? So think this is at the beginning, the dawn of internet, but when it comes to job search and recruitment, it was still fairly old school. I'm talking Melbourne here, right? So I still remember cutting out the job description from I can't remember which newspaper now, but I don't think LinkedIn didn't exist back then. I don't think it existed way back in 1997, but eventually Teradata NCR, which is an American data warehouse, and also you see all the ATMs around the world, they make those ATMs, right? Hardware, but on the software side and on the data side of things, they were called Teradata was also part of NCR as well. I think they just acquired them a little while ago before I joined, and then that was the CRM, Teradata, data warehouse aspects of the business. Anyway, go into that later, but more importantly, I think there were about 3 or 4 rounds of interview. One thing that was actually quite interesting was one of the rounds was that we had to do a group interview, and I had to stand in front of 20 people in a circle. So they divided us into, I think there were a few hundred people that applied for their graduate program back then, and each one of us had to stand in front of a group of 20, and basically our task was to spend 1 minute to talk about one of the most exciting things that has happened in your life so far. So I was like, well, it's 2021 back then, so didn't really have a lot of experience of anything really. But it just so happened that I came back from the Janet Jackson trip from LA the year before, well, actually on the same year, 1997. So guess what? That had to be, and also the year before that I met Michael, right? So that 1 minute I just spilled it all out. I think my story of meeting Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson actually got me through to the next round, because I don't think there were many stories around that period that could have topped that, right? Meeting the 2 Jacksons, if you also count Catherine Jackson and also Jermaine, which I saw in LA, that's 4 Jacksons in 1 year. I was 21. And that actually eventually, I don't know whether that was one of the reasons why I got through to the next round, but I did. And eventually I got the role as a graduate program trainee for my first job at the NCR Teradata. So this is kind of like my first real job experience in terms of actually sitting through interviews and things. Was I nervous? I don't think I was really that nervous, because I don't think they were hard interviews. That one that I just spoke about, which is you stand in front of 20 people to talk about something in your life, I think that was probably a little bit more daunting. I remember it was actually up at the North Melbourne office as well too. So anyway, I got through.